You take a bite of a hot dog. Mustard, ketchup, everything tastes fine. But somewhere in the back of your mind, a slightly uncomfortable question lingers. What if it's actually dog meat? It sounds absurd. Yet in the late 19th century, this wasn't entirely a joke. People genuinely questioned what was hidden inside that sausage casing. The suspicion grew strong enough that the word dog began to carry a tone of mockery. To understand this anxiety, we need to return to industrializing America. Cities were overcrowded. Factories multiplied rapidly.
Here's your
Meat was
sausage,
processed
extra
on a
mustard
massive
today.
scale.
Perfect, thank you.
But
Smells
hygiene
great after a long
standards,
shift.
they barely existed in the
I'll
way
take
we
2 of those.
understand them today. There were no federal inspections, no traceability systems, just trust and rumors. Sausage was the perfect food for working
Fresh as
class
you'll find,
laborers.
wrapped for a penny.
Cheap, fast, filling, but precisely because it was inexpensive and made from ground meat. It also became the perfect target for speculation. When you can't see a whole cut of meat, imagination fills the gap, and human imagination is rarely gentle. Some satirical newspapers in the late 1800s published cartoons of stray dogs disappearing from the streets and reappearing behind sausage counters. Not
Don't
because
worry,
there
it's
was
perfectly
evidence,
fresh.
but
We
because
sealed
it
it
made
just
for an
an hour
easy
ago.
punchline. Like
It
an
just
early
looks a little
version of a
pale through
meme,
the wrapper.
except printed on paper. The word dog started to function as a sarcastic hint at poor quality meat. Not necessarily real dog, just something you might not want to inspect too closely. Then there was the visual resemblance between sausages and the dachshund, a long-bodied, short-legged breed of dog. The comparison felt almost too convenient when a cartoonist sketched a dachshund inside a bun and labeled it hot dog. It worked both as wordplay and as a knowing wink. The public understood and laughed. But after laughing, they kept eating. Here's the interesting part. If people had truly believed hot dogs were made from dog meat, the dish would have disappeared quickly. Instead, it spread rapidly through baseball stadiums. And the stadium is what changed the fate of the hot dog. Picture an early 20th century stadium packed with 30,000 people, the population of a small town. When you stand in that crowd and see thousands eating the same food without hesitation, personal doubt begins to dissolve. This
So
is
I
the
said to the guy,
psychology of the crowd.
relish today,
When many
ketchup
people do
tomorrow.
something without consequence, you feel safer doing it too.
at him,
It's
he really
similar
loves
to
it.
crossing a busy street
so
once
good,
the
though.
whole group
best in the
steps
city.
forward.
Look at that
Still,
slide.
concerns about hygiene weren't entirely imaginary. In the early 1900s, journalist Upton Sinclair published The Jungle, exposing horrifying conditions in Chicago's meatpacking industry. His descriptions unsettled the public. Not just sausages, the entire meat industry came under scrutiny. Consumers
Best game
began
ever.
demanding
Cheers,
clearer
everyone.
standards. In that climate, hot dogs needed symbolic reassurance.
I think
And
I'll
in
try one.
1916,
Here you go.
at
Thank
Coney
you.
Island,
Thank you.
a man named Nathan Handwerker introduced a simple yet remarkably clever strategy. He
connects
sold
the alderman
hot dogs
directly
for
to the
just
syndicate.
5 cents
Deadline is
cheaper
in
than
5
competitors. But
need
low
more
prices
details on the
alone
explosion.
couldn't erase suspicion. So Nathan hired men dressed in white lab coats, the familiar attire of doctors, to stand in front of his stand and eat hot dogs. They weren't real doctors, but to customers, the image sent a powerful message. This is clean enough for a doctor to eat. It was subtle psychological marketing. No debates about ingredients. No speeches about sanitation processes. Just imagery. And the human brain processes images far faster than rational analysis.
Did you
When
see
you
the salmonella
associate
outbreak
a
report?
medical
Yeah,
symbol
and we
with
just bought
food,
chicken yesterday. I don't
you
know if I trust eating
instinctively
this stuff
assume
anymore.
safety. The strategy
These
worked
standards
so
are
well that
unacceptable
Nathan's
for our
stand
community's
became
health.
legendary.
But we
The
follow
when,
all city
Nathan's Famous,
regulations.
has
We can't
survived for
afford
more than a
more.
century.
Dogs.
Not because
Get
he
your fresh hot dogs
reinvented
right
the
here.
recipe,
Step right
but
up, folks.
because he reshaped public perception.
2
And
hot
here's
dogs
what's
coming right
worth
up. That's 20
reflecting
cents,
on.
please.
The
Here's a
dog
quarter.
meat rumor
Best in New York.
was never widely proven to be true.
All
Yet
right,
the
folks,
rumor
step
itself
right up.
became part
Best
of the hot
dogs in
dog's
town,
personality.
Only a nickel.
It gave the dish a slightly rebellious,
Coming right
slightly
up.
streetwise identity.
This
A
might be the
food with a
greatest
touch of
discovery of
scandal.
my career. Truly
A
exquisite.
hint of doubt,
I
and
concur. The
perhaps
structurality
that
of the
made
bun
it even
is
more
remarkable.
compelling. Hot dogs
nice to
are not
finally
haute
sit down.
cuisine.
How is
They
your
don't
morning?
require
Busy,
thick printed
but
menus. They belong to fairs,
This soup is delicious. You
Stadiums.
should try some.
Sidewalks.
So
In
this
those
pathway
spaces,
here shows how the
perfection isn't the
medication
goal.
interacts with the
People seek
receptors.
convenience,
It should alleviate the
speed,
symptoms we discussed.
and the shared
Right.
feeling of
Okay, I
being part of a
understand it much
collective
better now.
experience.
This
Over
is the
time,
best hot dog
food
I've
safety
had
laws
in
tightened,
years.
federal inspectors appeared.
You
Factories
are
were required to
absolutely
follow
right.
strict
The
regulations.
flavor is just
But the word
perfect.
dog remained. It no longer functioned as mockery. It became a brand. A clear example of how language can redefine itself over time. So
It
what's the
started
truth?
simple, then
A
became a
hot
staple.
dog is not
The
made from
hot
dog meat,
truly an
but the
American
rumor was
icon.
once part of its journey. A challenge the dish had to overcome before becoming a cultural icon.
You
The
really
next time
think this
someone
looks like
jokes,
dog meat?
maybe it's dog meat, you can smile. Not because the joke
The
is new,
resemblance
but
is
because it's more than a
uncanny,
century
man.
old. And the hot dog is still going strong. If you enjoy stories about foods that had to battle their own reputations, there are many more waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps next time we'll open another box and ask the same timeless question: what's really inside?